into a brand new wave, drowning out the noise that's tame. Liberty whispers through the brave, breaking free from every chain. Nullify the rules they crave, crypto beats that pave the way. Anarchy with minds that's safe, algorithms new dawn today. Out of bounds and out of sight, building futures pure and bright. Escape the grip and win the fight. Welcome into the legacy ride. Beyond control we take a stand, casting off the iron brand. Freedom flowing through our hands, revolution's our command. Decentralize the way we plan, all together we expand. Breaking shackles for the clan, in this journey we're on pan. Out of bounds and out of sight, building futures pure and bright. Escape the grip and win the fight. Welcome into the legacy ride.
Welcome to Legacy News episode 32. Episode 32, man. We're coming a long way. I am the legacy of Jennifer and Kaiser. I'm your El Capitan. I'm Zachary Kaiser, and we got a show for you today on this Tuesday, February 18th. One day after President's Day. What do you think, Andrew? What do you think about President's Day?
They're dancing to the legacy ride. I don't know. Bunch of bullshit holidays, if you ask me.
Did you get off?
No, I had to work. I always have to work. I have a life.
Exactly. But a lot of people got off.
Really?
Wonder why certain corporate conglomerates and federal institutions and banks get the day off.
That's a good question.
Speaking of
Does it have
that,
anything to do with
banks.
the Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to, speaking of that, banks are looking to possibly take the day off pretty soon anyways.
Yeah.
And I'm fine with that, especially central banks, and especially the Bank of England, which may no longer have gold in it, because it seems. Have you seen the news? Have you read some news? Have you surfed at least Twitter? I mean, they're shipping the gold to the United States from London to New York, man. Wonder why.
Man, I get all my news from Newsground, so
Newsground's still around?
yeah.
I like that.
So is Cheat Code
Newsground's
Central.
still around.
Anybody who's been around for a long time knows Cheat Code Central.
Huh.
But that's not here or there. That's a different topic for a different day.
Well, in the realm of just different various perspectives that have coming out, especially since corporate media is basically on a downturn. Thank God. Legacy media is dying. I'd like to get some of my news from this guy right here. So let's listen. Let's see what old Neil Oliver has to say.
Okay.
new insights and revelations about the workings of the powerful and the corrupt. Heaven help us all. I have to say, as I always do, it's great to have you with me for another session as we look for answers together, find truth about this wonderful old world. It's still wonderful somewhere down deep. Before we get started, can I say a quick but huge thanks for all the brilliant comments that you leave down here somewhere. Keep them coming. It reminds me that I'm connected to you all, and the comments help guide the channel. Let's Paul and I see what you're all thinking about. If you want to support what I do here, you can. Please sign up to my Neil Oliver World. It's been around a long time. I see it quite often, one version or another on social media. It's a bit of a modern day parable. I'm not even sure where it comes from. There are different versions, but the heart of it goes something like this. All the banks, all the bankers in the world decide it'd be better and cheaper to keep all their gold together in the same place. You know, why pay for complicated and expensive security in many locations when it could all be looked after collectively in one very safe place? So it's all moved to a vault deep underground on a remote island in an ocean somewhere. And all's well. Gold is traded, but of course, in the way of gold, it never actually moves, never actually leaves the vault. Customers get a promissory note or something like it, assuring them that they own some gold and that the actual gold is, safely under lock and key. And then after many years of this, all the governors of the banks decide it'd be fun to have a jolly and visit the island. Yeah, take their wives and girlfriends, whatever, tour the vault, have a look at all the bullion. So they all turn up and they're warmly greeted by the staff. When the niceties are over and everyone's been treated to a slap-up dinner, the governors ask to see the gold, only to be told that years ago there was an earthquake and all the gold fell into a void to the centre of the earth, never to be retrieved. It's all gone. There is no gold. So there's shock and dismay all round. What will we do? What will we tell our customers? And the staff at the vault say, well, nothing. They show the governors the books, the accounts, everything's fine. Everyone's happy trading the gold they think is safe in the vault. And after a few drinks and a chance to calm down, everyone agrees. What the people don't know, what they must never know, won't hurt them. So that's the story. And it's just a story. But I was reminded of it again this week when I started reading about the latest gold rush in the real world. All the shenanigans around gossip. And I think it really is gossip and rumour as much as anything else, that new US President Donald Trump might put tariffs on the movement of precious metals into the United States. And just the possibility of that has bumped up the price of gold in the US. And traders are seeking to capitalise on that in the way that traders do. At the moment, the price of gold is lower in the UK than it is on the other side of the Atlantic. And so banks like JP Morgan and HSBC are making hay while the sun shines. They're shipping gold to the US out of England on commercial flights and trousering the profits made on trades, bearing in mind the price differential. Precious metals analysts, and believe it or believe it not, I do speak to some, suggest that this is going to be nipped in the bud. Eventually, someone somewhere will get a tap on the shoulder and told to stop it before too much instability or panic ensues. Imagine what might happen if rumour turned to fact and Donald Trump did impose such tariffs. Well, then that might break the market altogether. But that would be a real world financial disaster before the bankers have time to meet their real objective, which is managed decline of the existing system ahead of the implementation of a completely new system. And word is they're not ready for that yet, or not quite. So a full-scale panic about gold is the last thing they want. But still the rumours are out there, even reaching the mainstream media, God love them, that the Bank of England is running out of gold. So let's recap on what we know. The Bank of England, among other reserves, but the Bank of England is quoted as the second biggest gold store in the world, is being hit for multiple demands for huge amounts of gold. And it's officially admitting that let's say it's struggling to cope with the rate of demand. It can't meet the demands as quickly as the people making the demands would like. And bank bosses are citing logistics. They're talking about security, obviously. They're saying that gold's heavy to move. It all takes time, so on and so on. But there's a lag in the system now, and people are waiting weeks to get their gold. And tongues are continuing to wag. And mischievous types are suggesting, as I say, that the Bank of England might not have enough gold to go round. And then, just while I was mulling all that over, I saw this tweet on X, Twitter, by retired US Colonel and sometime White House advisor Douglas Macgregor. And he is one of about, half a dozen voices that I consider worth listening to when it comes to big picture analysis. Quote, "What's happening in London is going to happen here." That means the US. "London's bluff is being called. The banks are not solvent. The gold is not on hand. This may well lead to the end of the United Kingdom." Colonel Douglas Macgregor's words, not mine. Now, that's interesting to say the least, coming, as I say, from one of the very few grown-ups in any room at the moment, because Colonel Macgregor being an American, the questions have also begun to be asked about Fort Knox, which is another great store of gold, or so we've always been told. What if, under the auspices of the new Doge, the Department of Government Efficiency, Elon Musk and all that, what would happen if there was something like an external audit of Fort Knox? Like the doors thrown open, as it were, cameras inside. What might the auditors find in there? It's fascinating. And then this headline in Business Standard, just to get a flavour of how others are contemplating the same story. Headline, "Gold Rush, why JP Morgan, HSBC are pulling bullion from Bank of England." Quote, "For years, the Bank of England's bullion warehouse has been a trusted storage facility for precious metals, holding assets for central banks worldwide since 1697. The current flood of gold shipments has created bottlenecks in London, with the Bank of England struggling to keep up with withdrawal requests. Traders seeking to retrieve gold have in turn faced lengthy delays, prompting anxious calls to central bank officials." End quote. So, bottlenecks, eh? That's another way to describe it, I suppose. It's all a bit like the plot of a movie at the moment. They talk about a disaster movie. I've long been fascinated by the thought of all that gold in old London town. Well, apparently in London, deep beneath the Bank of England in the city of London, the square mile, you have tunnels and vaults glowing darkly with gold since the 17th century. The governor recently told mainstream media there was no shortage of gold in the vaults, but he acknowledged billions of pounds worth of bullion had left and had flown across the Atlantic in recent months. Gets you thinking about the bigger picture. Just imagine if out in the wider world of the gold market, the gold industry, just imagine mechanisms, legal mechanisms by which ounces of gold, coins, bars of bullion, whatever, had been being sold over and over again, year after year. Every coin and every bar sold 100 times or more. Imagine all those people holding, something like a promissory note, trusting the institutions that made them the promise. Imagine if enough investors got the jitters at the same time and decided they wanted to get their hands on the actual gold, or at least to cash out while the price is high, which it is. But imagine if there were 100 owners for every ounce, 100 owners for every coin, every bar, and actual gold for just 1 in every 100. What about the 99 dissatisfied customers, or 999? That sounds a bit like a Ponzi scheme, doesn't it? Or a pyramid selling scheme. I'm no financial expert, but that's surely the sort of thing that, it could lead to trouble. It's the sort of thing that leads to a run on a bank or the collapse of a market, no? And there's so much that's fascinating around the history of all this. You know, gold stored under the City of London since 1697. And then there's the thought that the City of London isn't, well, it's not quite part of London. It's a place apart, administratively. It's got its own police force. It's described as an enclave. It's under the authority not of the rest of London, but under the City of London Corporation, and has been for hundreds of years. A place in Parliament is reserved for the city remembrancer, who's, well, I think in the modern era that would be a solicitor of some sort, but an official, a high-ranking official of the City of London. And it's always has been the job of the city remembrancer to make sure the city and its uniqueness are remembered. But back to gold, wherever the gold is. You may or may not be aware that the BRICS nations, the 10 nations, including Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, that gives you the acronym BRICS, that are joined in an alternative to the G7 and promising to cooperate with one another on all matters trade. Those countries, some of them, I don't know, maybe all of them, have been repatriating, reclaiming, taking home huge amounts of their own gold from places like England and the United States. One way or another, there's a buzz around gold. There's talk of currencies getting back onto the gold standard. I've heard talk of that even around the US dollar. Whole nations get jittery when it comes to gold. Remember when France sent a warship to the US in 1971 after Nixon cancelled the convertibility of the US dollar to gold, the beginning of the end of the Bretton Woods arrangement. And France, I think it was General de Gaulle or Georges Pompidou or one of them, I don't know, he sent a warship to collect French gold before it was too late. I think the warship was loaded up with dollars. They went, right, you can have that pile of paper, we'll have the gold, thank you very much. More and more people simply want to hold not bits of paper promising gold, but actual gold. It's in the air now. And it goes for nations as well as for private individuals. So when will the questions be answered or just go away? Will the questions go away? And first and foremost among the questions has to be, is the Bank of England running out of gold? Your guess is as good as mine.
Yep.
What do you think about that?
I mean, there's always been funny business when it comes to Fort Knox, so why wouldn't it be the same thing in England? They're all playing on the same playbook. They all operate under the International Monetary Fund. There's no accountability. There's no regulations. They say there's regulations, but I mean, it's just like this thing right now with Doge, right? They just said like $4 trillion worth of payments were just unmarked. They couldn't account for anywhere it was at. Why would it be any different with the gold market? Look at GameStop a couple years ago. You know, they had all these people that were borrowing shares that they didn't own, and they had the thing with the tax returns. Everyone just went out and they pulled the rug underneath of these people who were borrowing shares, and they bankrupted one of the those big corporate trading firms because they called their bluff because they didn't see it coming.
That's fair. That's fair. As far as politics goes and the movement of this gold, specifically out of the Bank of England, what do you think Donald Trump is up to?
I think he's calling their bluff because they mess with him, so he's messing with them.
So this is all the bluff?
He was just trying to. His first term, all of his paychecks of being the president of the United States were donated to charity, and he tried to do everything within his power. Realistically, I mean, obviously he was pressing buttons a little bit, throwing grenades here and there. But I mean, this is nothing like his first term.
So what do you mean by calling his bluff or calling their bluff? Are you referring
mean-
to his tariffs and the consequences that
They made
might
him look bad,
in turn?
and so he's making them look bad.
Because rumor has it that he's going to be tariffing gold supply that's coming in from elsewhere into the United States. And if that were to be the case, and he doesn't initiate said tariff movement, that could be the end of this financial conglomerate that we have today. Just like that.
Are we taking over England? Are we going to be the new kings? No, I'm just kidding. But
I mean,
no.
To be fair on that one, before you hold that thought. To be fair on that one, we effectively did take control of England. It's called the Marshall Plan at the end of World War II. So, due to the Marshall Plan, we pretty much did.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, what I'm saying is this is a secure debt swap. Is it they're messing with people thinking that, oh, I can do a short term trade and get a small return, and then he just totally pulls the rug out from underneath of them and takes their gold for fake money.
That's interesting. Or is the United States under Donald Trump going to become a true empire?
I don't know. That would be funny, wouldn't it?
That would be hysterical, actually.
And
but
now he's
enough.
the king.
Yeah, and then he's the king. Exactly, he's the emperor.
The queen has passed away. The current king is not in good health. He got in fighting condition to win the presidency. He's obviously going for the throat. He's going to be top dog no matter what. President of the United States, nothing. He needs to be king. He needs the crown, baby. That's what he's going for.
To culminate it all. But actually, you know what? Let's not do that yet. But speaking of Doge, actually, the talking points right now, and I guess they're not all talking points. The audit of the IRS, the possibility of auditing and doing complete layover of the SEC, and now the talk of doing a full audit of Fort Knox, of all the gold. What are your thoughts on all of this, and what does it mean for this country, the world, just politics in general, culture in general, the monetary system? What does this all mean?
Well, okay. First of all, I'm not a Donald Trump fanboy. I appreciate the psychology of it because I'm a challenger. That's in my Enneagram core. So I'm playing into this because I think it's funny. But yeah, I definitely think that they're gonna just totally wipe the floor with all the bullshit lies that they've been doing for forever and ever. So IRS is, this is just he's pressure testing to see how far he can get away with. He's moving. They're moving fast, but they're also moving smart.
I honestly
think that to be liked.
The truth be told, and this is armchair economist Zach talking. He's threatening he's threatening. It's obvious, in my opinion, that he's threatening the pattern of the business cycle within the arm of government intervention. So, in my opinion, I knew that it was probably there was going to be some financial or economic collapse at some stage in Trump's presidency. It may not be now, but it's going to within these 4 years, there's going to be an economic downturn. And from my perspective, I think that this is the precursor. I think they're setting it afoot, and I think you're exactly right. I mean, it is kind of humorous. Trump in itself is testing the waters and putting pressure to see how far he can go. But inevitably, he is going to be in charge of an economic collapse, it seems. That's
Managed
that's what
decline.
it looks
Are
like.
you telling me he's pulling a Jimmy Carter and doing a pop of the everything bubble
Yeah, I think
for
he's
the
yeah,
health of the economy in the long term?
yeah, yeah. I mean, honestly, they say they that funny thing is they say compare Donald Trump to Ronald Reagan, but maybe on the gun issue, possibly the gun control aspect. But other than that, I would compare Donald Trump to Jimmy Carter. You're exactly right.
Yeah. See, they swapped it up. There, he's really what he's doing. He's preparing to put Kamala Harris over when she runs next time around.
I
Because
don't
they
think
know
that's
that she's a
happening.
no. I know. I'm being facetious. But I mean, Jimmy Carter put Ronald Reagan over, right, because of how bad a job he did. So if it collapses and Trump's fault, that puts Kamala Harris over. I'm just saying. I'm
That
reverse
yeah.
engineering it. I'm not saying it's actually going to happen. I'm just saying that would
I
be the
mean,
thing.
it would be the political thing to do would be exactly that. So, but speaking of all this gold movement that's going on and understanding Mises's theory of money and credit, um, what do you perceive is going on in the world with all this movement of gold?
Well, didn't they say they were some people were pulling out of BRICS too? There's definitely a
I didn't know that.
realignment of the power structure. I think it was Brazil said they were pulling out of BRICS.
That
Fact
doesn't
check me
surprise
on
me.
that. But yeah, there's no, it's not 100% stable. There's a lot of bad blood between like India and China and stuff like that. So it's there's a lot of moving pieces. And like I said, this is the challenger mentality is to ruffle the feathers and see who he can get to turn. Russia, he's trying to get on the same page with Russia, trying to pressure China. That's what they've talked about on Dave Smith's podcast before. So
Speaking of
watch this
Russia, actually,
fun.
didn't the United States and Russia hold a peace treaty for Ukraine without Ukraine there? Obviously,
They're gonna
there's more to that. Yeah.
I just saw that they're gonna have a new election cycle in Ukraine.
Oh, finally, right?
Yeah.
About time that tyrant gets voted out because you know he wouldn't win an election
Right.
unless it's fixed, unless it's rigged. But who knows, man? On Donald Trump's words, it might be too big to rig. There's too bad there's really nobody there to really vote in Ukraine anymore. But yeah. Anyways, the monetary structure is it's evident there's a restructure. The monetary system that we're living under is on the brink of collapse. You can see it in the stocks, you can see it in the exchange, you can see it in trade, and you can see it in political maneuvers like killing 100 million chickens because of the bird flu, and
Right.
your
I
price
mean, we talked
price
about this
ratio goes up.
when we spoke to Perbilan. I asked him
hmm
point blank. I said, "Is there going to be a capitulation?" He said, "Yeah." I mean, I'm not saying
of
that this
course.
is the one he's talking about, but it's definitely a potential.
hmm But with all this recent goings on in the world of both politics, culture, and economics or lack thereof, um, what are the banks preparing for?
Well, they're now allowed to buy it and hold Bitcoin. So all
That
these
is true.
states are buying. They are investigating, quote unquote, a strategic Bitcoin reserve because
Oh,
they're broke.
hold on. I'm gonna stop you right there. I'm gonna add to the question on here because you brought up a good point with the Bitcoin. Is this a possible restructuring of presenting Bitcoin as a true digital gold by possibly backing it with gold?
I think this is oh shit, we got caught with our pants down and there's nothing we can do, so this is our pivot. They think they could slow the pace of the transactions and make it into a gold digital, so that yes, you can transact, but it's expensive to transact. So only states can transact, and then after that, they go and say, oh, you can't do these alternative ones, even though this is an open source, free speech, free code implementation of money. So that's up. We're calling their bluff, even if it's in the short term.
Final question, Andrew. Where is all the gold? Is Fort Knox filled with it? Is there gold in Fort Knox?
It's been moved.
I honestly think. Hold on. I honestly think there is gold in Fort Knox amongst other valuables and treasures such as historical artifacts. I think we're holding, but I do think there's gold in Fort Knox. I just don't think the United States as a whole is the significant possessor of that gold. I think it's been traded and sold. Bond exchanges have been made. I don't think we own that gold. But is there gold in Fort Knox?
Yes. No, it's in Galt. John Galt's Gulch.
But go on, minus your humor. You failed. You're not right. Robbie.
I'm a failed podcaster, just like the rest.
But yeah, where is all the gold?
I mean, I agree with you. It's probably been lended out on contract. And then it's just disappeared with they've filtered it out with fake gold like China did.
They filtered it out with fake gold. Actually, as we close out, explain that comment right there. What do you mean they filtered it out with fake gold?
The Chinese people in the state of China, the country of China, they forged gold and tried to pass it off, and they were successful in a lot of ways of implementing, as a debt swap. They said we have this gold, and we'll work with you. So people bought it up, not realizing it was fake.
And it wasn't even fool's gold, was it? It was just straight up rock.
It was just it was really well done. It was a really well done forgery. Don't trust me. Look it up yourself.
No, really, look it up yourself. But honestly, that just shows you why China and the United States too, but why China is definitely one of the six-headed dragons. That's demonic right there, dude.
Don't drink the soy sauce in China.
Why? Why do you say that?
Look it up.
I don't think I want to look it up. Honestly. What is it? I will look it up though. I will look it up.
It's not for YouTube. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, it probably isn't for YouTube. But yeah, don't drink the soy sauce in China. Don't trust the Chinese with your gold, and inevitably, just don't trust any government with your gold. But it seems like Donald Trump might be doing a semi-reverse FDR. Only instead of confiscating gold from individuals and businesses and banks, he's confiscating it from nation states and their central banks.
Is this what the External Revenue Service is all about?
This might be what the External Revenue Service is all about. So we'll be watching, man. We'll keep track on this because and evidently so will Neil. So but top of the morning to you all. And have a great evening, Tuesday, February 18th. Like, subscribe, and join in the conversation, everybody. And drop a comment. What's your take? I mean, we want to know your perspective, too. What do you think is going on in the world today? With that, anything else for you? Any other things to say there, Andrew?
I'm looking forward to picking up on Crypto Wednesday and watching the Ricky Monero Part 3.
Any cheerful words to end the day, end this Tuesday?
Just one. Who is John Galt? It's Lysander Spooner.
I don't know. I don't know. I assume yes, but honestly, I don't know. So, live long and prosper.
Thanks
Peace.
for watching.